You see the headline, her pastor tried to sleep with her. It's like either we have these pastors who are money laundering and being greedy for money, like your Marvin Sapp. You are pushing some sort of trans agenda, like your Michael Todd. You are already openly out here trying to push some sort of inclusivity agenda, like those other pastors, the senior bishop and the first man of the church. Or you have pastors like you're getting ready to hear this young lady talk about, who are pushing this very fornicated, uncomfortable agenda onto the ladies that go to their church.
My pastor tried to sleep with me. I do have to give you a backstory so you can understand the severity of this situation. This did not happen at my current church. This happened maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. For obvious reasons, I couldn't speak about it then. It's too fresh, and I honestly was going to keep it to myself outside of anybody else that went to the church from finding out, especially his children. His wife is my mother's cousin. What does that make us? Cousins, I guess? Cousin-in-laws? I don't know. But he was family. I don't just mean like a mere relative. Like, this is someone who we went to the beach with, we would go out to eat with. His children were super close to me and my siblings. We were heavily in the church. So we saw him and his family all the time. So to dive a little deeper, my mom is a minister. So outside of whenever he would preach, let's say he had to go preach at another church, or maybe was out of town or was sick, that's when my mother would step in and she would preach in his place. We grew up in the church probably like 5 to 6 days a week, from choir rehearsal to praise dance to Bible study to church outside the walls. We even did Bible study outside of church, and she like planted a very deep, heavy seed of faith into me and my siblings, her and my father. And I obviously thank God for that, because that is one of the main reasons why I was able to develop a real relationship with Jesus now. Suddenly, one day, we just up and left the church. This pastor met me when I was like 7, 8 years old. So he's known me since I was a little girl. He baptized me. Him and my father were at one point sort of kind of like best friends. I had to.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy how it's like these are the people that we entrust our families, a lot of people with. It's a very sacred position to hold, man, and it's just so unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that this is even a reality. Not that it's becoming a reality. This has happened.
That part so you can see how sick he is. If there's anybody watching this video that knows me in real life and grew up with me, obviously you know what pastor that I'm talking about. I don't know how far this video is going to get. I don't know if this video is going to get a lot of views. I don't know. But in the event that it does, I'm not sorry for saying any of this at all. I do apologize to his children, because I know that this is probably the first time that you're hearing about this. I'm not going to say his name, obviously, or put any pictures or anything like that. Let's continue. Now that you have the backstory, again, this was like 4 or 5 years ago. At the time this happened, I was like 20 years old, and I'm 25 now. This was around the time where OF was getting really popular. It wasn't exactly popular yet for what it's known for, but it was around that time where it was getting there. When it comes to certain situations, I look at things for what they are and not what they are portrayed to be. Looking on there, of course, OF doesn't promote itself as that type of app. So when I made it, this was around the time I was heavily chasing my music career. If you know me, you know I used to rap and sing and all of that stuff, and I was heavily trying to pursue being a rapper and a singer. I was deep into my music career, like really trying to thrive and make a living off of it. When I saw OF, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a perfect outlet to put all of my behind the scenes content on here, exclusive music videos, photo shoots, never before seen photos or unedited photos from my photo shoots. I had this whole big plan to put all of that stuff that I didn't normally share with my supporters or my Instagram followers on theirs. That is what I was using OF for. I promise you, that was it, and that was all. So on my Facebook, only my family is on there. There may be a few of my friends or associates or people I went to high school with, but for the most part, it was only like family members. I posted the OF link on there, and I specifically put in the caption, what was on there. So just thinking about that, even if I was doing that type of OF content, why on God's green earth would I post it on Facebook for my entire family to see? If I was doing that type of content, obviously I'm not gonna put it on Facebook. I get this Facebook message from my pastor. He's like, oh, like, wow, like you have an OF. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm posting all of my music videos. I had a music video that I had just shot that I didn't release yet. I was giving like my supporters and like my family and stuff a first look at that music video. None of my music videos were explicit or anything. Yes, I was definitely cursing and stuff, but none of my music videos had nothing crazy in it. So then I get a new subscriber. My family, they're really, really good about supporting my music. So this was not uncommon. I didn't find this weird. I was actually like, oh my gosh, I'm getting another subscriber. There was only like 5 things on there. The music video and like the behind the scenes of that music video. So he liked all of them. And then he inboxed me and he said, oh, I have a question. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, is this the only content that you post on there? And I was like, well, that's all the content I have on there for now. I'm getting ready to post some other behind the scenes from this other photo shoot that I just did. So I don't know when I'm going to upload it, but I'm going to upload that on there soon. Then I'm also shooting another.
Her answers are so innocent, but that pastor was not asking for when's the next time you go drop a single album. He's wanting to know when's the next time you go drop a single nude. It's terrible. It's terrible, man. But it's gotten so terrible. There's no room to defend it. It's laughable, man. It's laughable. It's completely laughable. Let's finish this out, man.
Video soon, and that's going to be up there as well. So I tell him that, and he was like, oh, okay, that's it, LOL. And I was like, yeah. Mind you, I did not know that OF was turning into a P app. Was completely oblivious to it, and not only that, it was still on the rise.
Pastor knew.
It wasn't predominantly that yet, and if it was, I had no clue because I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm reading his message like, yeah, that's it. Like, what do you mean? I'm thinking he's about to give suggestions about other type of music content that I can put on there or something like that. But he comes out and say like, oh, you ever thought about doing any other type of content for it? And I was like, any other type of content like what? At this point, I'm starting to say, surely he's not talking about that. Surely he's not talking about that. There's no way he's talking about that. So I'm just in denial right now because like I said, he is in the family. This man watched me grow up, and my siblings and him and my daddy at one point was like this. Also, like I said, we did up and stop going to this church out of nowhere, and we joined a different church. My parents, they never told us why. They never told us what happened. We kind of knew something happened, but they never told us why we stopped going. Remember that, because it's going to be important later. It was like, LOL, you know what content I'm talking about. Nobody wants to see the content that you have on there now. Like, who's going to subscribe to see that? So I'm like,
bro, pastor was getting mad at the fact that she wasn't living a life that he actually should be preaching against. Think about that for a second.
I didn't know how to respond, but at the same time, I didn't want to run with a narrative where I think he's talking about something and maybe he's not. So I didn't accuse him of anything. I just left the message alone. I didn't respond to it. Then he double texted me like an hour later and he said, oh, I could pay you for the type of content that I want to see. Right there, I'm like, he's definitely talking about what I think he's talking about. I still wasn't running with it because I didn't have proof. He didn't come out and say that. And if anything got out, I knew that he could deny it. Because back then, the church folk that he had surrounding him were like die-hard churchgoers.
Bro, that's what happens in today's time. These people get defended, and it's like they can do the craziest things, and it could be right in front of your faces. But like I said, it's because people don't know the word for themselves. Not enough people are out here reading the Bible for themselves to be able to have the discernment they need to see when someone's not and aligned with the word versus when they are. But nah, she had enough information, I would say, at that point in time, because she was already clear on what she was posting and he kept asking for other things. Bro, he said, I'll pay you for the content. You had enough because your content with your music was free. So if her content with her music was free, and he's saying, I'm going to pay you for some other type of content, bro, that's enough information there. But it is sad. It's sad. This whole situation's sad. But what's even more sad is what she just noted was that even if she presented that proof, even if she went forward with that information, the crazy thing is that 9 times out of 10, sometimes even majority of the times, 10 times out of 10, they will back up that pastor, and that pastor will not suffer any sort of consequences, nor will he take accountability.
Who would back him up to the ends of the earth. If I ever would have came out with this, I would have had to have severe, concrete audio and video proof of this. That's how deep they was going for him. I'm like, what type of content are you talking about? And then he says, I want to see you naked.
You got him.
Literally said, did you mean to send me this? And he was like, yeah, LOL. And I was like, do you know who this is? This is Blank's daughter. I said my father's name. He was like, yeah, I know who this is. I know who this is. LOL. Like, I just want to see some content of X, Y, and Z. He then started being descriptive.
She gave him so many ways out. Like, did you mean to send this? Like, are you sure? Like, her being naive and innocent at the time actually could have helped him if he would have just stopped while he was ahead. I mean, he should have never started in the first place, but the fact that him and most of people like him are just gonna go ahead and give it a shot anyways, he had multiple times throughout this story where she was so naive to the point where she would have just dusted it off as, oh, that was just my pastor checking in, my old pastor checking in. But he kept on going, and it's like he was so desperate he couldn't even see the signs that, buddy, she's not picking up what you're putting down.
With the type of content he wanted to see, and even made an offer to see me in person. And so I was like, so you know that this is Blank's daughter? And he says, yeah. And I was like, this is Shawnee, like little Shawnee. And he was like, yeah, I know you is. You ain't no little girl no more, LOL. I immediately called my father. Immediately.
Bro, you should have called Jesus.
My parents. And when I got them on the phone, I was crying. Because I'm like, there's just no way that this man who's supposed to be family, who literally saw me grow up, like, dude, like, you baptized me and my siblings. You were in my house. I used to spend the night at his house with his daughter. I'm like, wow, like, you really is a creep. Both of my parents was livid, but they also had this side in their voice where they weren't surprised. I was like, why kind of sound like y'all not that surprised? Like, of course they was extremely mad, but they wasn't that, like, surprised. We're still talking on the phone, and I go back to the messages because I'm like, oh, nah, I need to show them proof. Of course, the messages are gone. All you see is everything he ever said unsent. I had no proof, but of course, my daddy and my parents, you know, they believed me. Of course, they're not those type of parents. They believed me. That's when I got the explanation on why we really left the church. Something else actually transpired after it came out with the story.
I knew it. They left because they were on some iffy stuff, and it's that same thing. There's a bunch of cover up all the time, but the right people, when you got that discernment, it's like, bro, I really don't need to know the factual information. I just have discernment enough to know that something's off here. So we gonna go ahead and get up out of here. That's terrible, bro. Creep. Straight creep. And no accountability, but deleted every message. Bro, that doesn't really protect you. Sure, maybe you deleted the message. We can't really see the exact word you sent, but we can still see a track that, bro, you were actually out here hitting up. And that's what, bro, my kids will not be sleeping over at anyone's house. I don't care if you're a pastor. I don't care if you're the president of the United States, the Pope. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, what you are. Yes, because that's insane, man. Because you put so much trust. We put so much trust in these people, expecting them not to do us harm, expecting them not to turn around and come for our daughters that they were around when they were kids. And that pastor was best friends, best buddies. It happens that way, man. It definitely happens that way, and it's unfortunate. But it's like, where has the church gone? Where have we gotten to as Christians and believers, to the point where, number one, our leadership is doing things like this in some places, and the people of God are condoning it, man. Stay safe out there, man. Get to know God for yourself and stay prayed up.